All right, thanks so much, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Halifax Finance Committee meeting. It's Monday, April 20th, 2020. The time is 6:06 p.m. On tonight's agenda, budgets, wage and personnel recommendations, reserve fund transfers, acceptance of minutes, correspondence, public participation, calendar, and as may arise. So if I'll entertain a motion from the committee to go a little bit out of order, just to quickly handle any of the housekeeping items. So basically everything below budgets. So we'll start with wage and personnel recommendations quickly. So I'll entertain a motion basically to table budgets until we're done with the other sort of administrative items.
I'll move that motion, make that motion.
I'll second that.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And to those of you who are joining us as public participants, we will keep this very brief. We just want to get through, like I said, the kind of housekeeping stuff. So first off, on wage and personnel recommendations, wage and personnel is meeting on Thursdays at 12 for met this week, and we'll meet for the next 2 weeks coming up. There are no final wage and personnel recommendations yet, but wage and personnel has started to vote on the proposed amendment to the bylaw. So I would imagine, if not after, after this next wage and personnel meeting this Thursday, that we'll likely have recommendations because we only have a couple more things to discuss. Reserve fund transfers. Have we received any requests for reserve fund transfers?
No.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Acceptance of meeting minutes. So the meeting minutes, I'll just find the date. Thank you, Linda, for doing those for us.
We're looking to accept the ones from April 6th because we couldn't do it last week.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So I will entertain a motion. Sorry. I'll entertain a motion to approve those meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes for April 6th.
I'll second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Just to reinforce, those members present were Melinda Tarsi, Bill McAvoy, Fred McGovern, and Cheryl Zarella Burke. So only the ones who are in attendance can vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Any correspondence?
No, we did not have any.
Thank you, Linda. Okay, and I think we're all set with calendar for right now. We are slated through the end of the month, and then depending on sort of how tonight goes, we can revisit that subject later. I have nothing under as may arise unless anyone else does, because I mean, other than that, we can hop right into the budget discussion if that's okay with everyone. Okay, so in terms of budget, as everyone knows, we've been in a bit of a holding pattern. We've been putting off making any, having a lot of substantive discussions concerning the budget because of the lack of certainty about the economy. The only thing the Finance Committee has officially done up to this point, just to get everyone on the same page, is that, and this was, it seems like forever ago now, it was when we were still meeting in person, we took the FY 2021 proposals and we voted to recommend all of those that were level funded, decrease, or really slight increases. And again, this was before shelter in place orders or anything like that. We did take votes on the capital item requests, or those articles rather, and that's been the extent of what we've done. Because we don't know what the financial forecast looks like quite yet, we've held off asking departments, for example, to come up with various versions of budgets and things like that, or just coming up with an arbitrary number and asking for cuts, because we wanted to get as much information as possible and not make folks do work that may or may not actually align with the reality once the time comes to make those decisions. So that's my little preamble about what we've done so far. And I don't know, Charlie and or Sandy, do you have any kind of updates or any further guidance from your end as to what we can expect?
Sandy and I are looking at each other, not figuratively. I don't have anything else. Sandy's been doing all the work on this, so it's her numbers. We're just sort of with my, framework of what we need to be thinking about.
So folks, you should all have an email from, or the FinCom member should have an email from Sandy from this afternoon with the revised revenue estimates. So if you have those in front of you, you can go ahead and open up those. Sandy, would you mind just giving everyone an update or sort of getting everyone on the same page in terms of what we're looking at, just for folks who may not have been here for the last meeting?
Hi, Melinda?
Hi, Sandy.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear us okay?
Oh, no. I can hear you better now. All right, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay, what we did for the revenues for fiscal 21, we lowered the local receipts by 177,500, and we lowered the state revenue by 337,374. Charlie and I looked at the history from the last recession, what happened with our local receipts and what happened with the state revenue. And we tried to make an estimate using that information. So the total amount that we lowered the revenue estimate was by 514,874.
Thank you, Sandy. So FinCom folks, you'll see in front of you, you have the one-page, excuse me, the one-page synopsis, which will be the second tab in the spreadsheet. And you'll see that Sandy's laid out on the left-hand side the various revenue streams, and on the right-hand side, the expenditures. And then towards the bottom right-hand side, the revenue less the expenditures. One thing that we've held as a policy, and the last time we met, we decided that we would like to keep this, is to leave the $300,000 under the levy limit on the table and not spend to the levy limit. So, excuse me, you look on the right-hand side of your synopsis sheet and you'll see the revenue less expenditure. The left-hand column, sort of teal, is if we spend to the full levy. The right-hand side is the levy minus the 300,000. So that's what we've traditionally worked on, that sort of cushion or the tucky of 300,000 under the levy limit, which right now without any other, so this is without any of the union contracts. This is just what we have so far, as I understand it, in the budget. And Sandy, please yell at me if I'm wrong, is that we're currently in the red by $461,955.
That's right.
So I guess in terms of sort of moving forward with the FY21, Charlie and Sandy, do you think that we're going to, so just sort of procedurally, if we go to the 1/12 budget, then the finance committee would not make recommendations, but would rather, I guess sort of procedurally, how would that work if we go in that direction? And do you think we're headed in the direction of a 1/12 budget?
So, okay. The 1/12 budget gets submitted. There's no, let's back up for a minute. The 1/12 budget's been mentioned and described, but there's not a real framework that's been built yet for submission of 1/12 budgets to the Division of Local Services. When I've talked with people about this or sent notes or anything, what my hope would be is that the selectmen under that, what got services are the ones we need to support the budget to Division of Local Services, not the Finance Committee, not the department heads, but it's the Board of Selectmen. And what I've strongly recommended to the Board of Selectmen is to work with the Finance Committee and the department heads in submitting that 1/12 budget. The reason is that it really is going to serve as a template for the entire fiscal year 21 budget. We can't put ourselves in a situation that would say, okay, let's spend all the money we can the first month and then have nothing left to spend the other 11 months, or for that matter, put ourselves at a service level that if we simply continued the 1/12 budget for the other 11 months, that again, we'd have an imbalanced budget. What the selectmen need to be able, I would think, if I was Division of Local Services, I'd be saying to the boards of selectmen or equivalent bodies, you need to submit a 1/12 budget and be able to back it up as to how you're going to get that money. What do you think you're going to get in property taxes? What do you think you're going to get in state aid? What do you think you're going to get in local receipts or any other revenues like water receipts or solid waste receipts here in Halifax as an example? The DLS understands that the 1/12 budget they mentioned is not literally a 1/12 of every single line item from line 1 to 155 or whatever we go to. They know that, for instance, that in July, we need to make a payment to Silver Lake. It's going to be about 1/4 of what we would make for the year. They know that we're going to have to pay the retirement system the entire amount up front. All of it is going to be done in July. They know, for instance, that our property and casualty bill comes due that first month in July, so that we're going to pay, let's say, I think it's something on the order of $250,000 for property and casualty insurance. But there are other line items that's not true. We may pay little or nothing for a line item, or it may be that some of those line items, like a pure salary line item, yeah, it's going to be 1/12 of that each month for 12 months. So what my hope would be is that if we're going to get to that point to having to send in a 1/12 budget because we don't have a town meeting in June, and I'll get to the probability of that in a minute, that the selectmen would meet, so to speak, with the Finance Committee sometime between now and then and get recommendations from the Finance Committee. I think because it's not the selectmen can't do the work, but I don't see the point of them duplicating the Finance Committee's work. You've got the budgets in front of you. You have all the revenue and expense information. My hope is, the Finance Committee should, in essence, start off this process by recommending a full fiscal year 2021 budget. That way, the selectmen, if they need to bring a 1/12 budget to the Division of Local Services, will be able to send one that's based on a balanced budget for fiscal 21 with the notation that we're going to have less in local receipts than we did in fiscal 20. We're going to have less in local aid than we did in fiscal 20. In terms of the town meeting and the 1/12 budget, right now our town meeting is scheduled for June 15th. No one absolutely has a crystal ball to know whether we're going to be able to have a gathering of that size, let's say 150 people inside the multipurpose room, for example, on June 15th. I think we have to plan that we won't, simply because, where we are right now in terms of cases, in terms of deaths and such. I don't know at what level Governor Baker is going to say, okay, it's okay to gather in groups of 25 instead of 10, or groups of 50, or groups of 100. I think it's going to be a much longer rollout than it was, in essence, a roll in. I mean, basically, when I go back and look 5 weeks ago, everything happened with, relatively speaking, everything happened within a few days. We had a department head meeting at the end, it was like February 13th or February 12th, not February, March 13th or March 12th. And right after that, we closed town hall. We had because we were already dealing with the social distancing. We were in the Great Hall, kept 6 feet away from each other, had a physical meeting, but I think the number of physical meetings that we've had could be counted since then have been counted on the hand, fingers on one hand. And I think it's going to take a long time, much longer than it took to get to where we are, to reopen to the point of 150. But the thing is, if you do set up a fiscal year 21 budget, Finance Committee recommends this budget. If we do have a meeting on the 15th, we're set, we're ready to go, we've got it. It should, and then the selectmen, if we can't have that meeting, the selectmen then have a budget that they can use as a base to send a 1/12 budget to Division of Local Services. So my recommendation would be develop a budget that as if we were going to have a meeting. Don't try and second guess the 1/12 budget, because the 1/12 budget really needs to be based on the fiscal 21 budget. I guess the other point is Sandy was mentioning, you were also mentioning the deficit. My recommendation is that the Finance Committee start off looking at the fiscal 20 budget and saying, okay, if we kept every single line item exactly the same, could we fit the fiscal 20 budget within the revenues that Sandy's projected for fiscal 21? If we can, that's a starting point, because that way you're not starting at a point of saying, well, can we cut this line item? Can we cut this line? Can we cut this line? It's, can we add to that line item from what was approved in fiscal 20 using certain criteria, like as we're talking about retirement, there's no escaping it. We're going to have to make that payment. So if we have enough money, start off with the question, do we have enough money to pay the fiscal 20 budget with fiscal 21 revenues? If you do, what's the difference? Okay, what are our mandatory payments that we have to make that, like retirement, that just need to be in the budget? There's no escaping it. Okay, put those in. Do we still have money inside the fiscal 21 envelope? And then you can go from there. I mean, we can discuss, for instance, do we want to approve budgets that include step increases? And that's school and non-school. And what does that project to be once you've gone to that point? And then at some point, we're going to run out of money. But you'll have done it in a coherent and systematic fashion to see what we can now still fit inside that fiscal 21 revenue envelope.
So I think that insofar as what we've done so far is tackled the level fund or decreased or very slight increased lines where we've started to move in that direction already without knowing this was going to happen. We were just using that as sort of a working policy. So Finance Committee members, you'll see on your FY 2021 sheet, column I has an R in it, and that's where the Finance Committee has made a recommendation to approve the FY 2021 request. Now, we did talk about some other lines that were not, after we had that initial kind of round of voting of all of the level funds, the decrease lines, or the very minimal increase lines, we did take some votes on some potential increases. So what we can do this evening is go back and reassess those lines, because essentially that was what Charlie's suggestion was to do, right? Those are FY 2020 numbers. If they were a level fund request for FY 2021, those are FY 2020 numbers. We've already made recommendations on those. So now we can go, we'll just check those again. We'll go back to the ones we've already taken votes on that were increases. We'll start talking about those as we, for those of you who are here from various departments, as we get to your department or your, excuse me, your set, we'll announce it. We'll kind of, we'll give you a heads up that we're talking about them at that point. We'll, I know we've met with each of the departments and you've been so great about reaching out to your liaisons and providing us with information. So now is when we might ask you about your FY 2020 numbers, whether or not you think you could fit that particular line under what you had in FY 2020, and that we really want you to be part of this process and that we're not making decisions without input from you or without caring about the things that you care about in your budget. So I just want to reiterate that, because I know that we're all on the same page of wanting to do as much as we can within this sort of zero-sum pot of money that we have. So finance committee members, your spreadsheet, if you want to go ahead and open that up. What we'll do is look over the lines. Like I said, I'll call them out. We'll start under general government. So I'll group lines together as much as it makes sense without going out of sequence. So for example, line 1 and 2, line 1 moderator salary and line 2 selectman salary are both level fund over FY20. We've voted to recommend those. Line 3, the town admin salary is a contractual obligation. Line 4, selectman clerical, that's a wage line.
Okay. Can you hold off? Hold
Yeah.
on a minute. This is where I'm going with the idea that you need to start off with the fiscal 21 budget, 20 budget,
Yeah.
and then say, once we get through it,
Mm-hmm.
what, can we in fact add? My own, I have a contract. It says
Yeah.
I'm going to get paid $120,000 next year plus
Yeah.
$1,000 of longevity. It doesn't work in this environment. I mean, I'm not thrilled about it. My pension is not thrilled about it, but we can't be giving increases to people the way we, that cover everybody, in the sense of, we're not, right now I'm going to unions and saying, I can't negotiate with you because I don't know that I even have money to give a 0.5%. I mean, there are some communities that are going to be doing layoffs. So that's what I mean about, looking at the fiscal 20 budget and saying, can we fit the fiscal 20 budget in fiscal 21's revenues? If we can't, I think my understanding from Sandy is that we can. That's when you can start saying, okay, are there specific line items that we can, in fact, increase? Now, you may be doing that on a line-by-line basis right now, but I'll give you an example. Until we know we have enough money to pay people more than steps, and there might be a consensus right now from the Finance Committee that we want, at least tonight, to say we're going to fund the step increases in the individual line items, whether it's union or non-union, school, non-school. But we can't right now give a general wage increase for one or more lines. So what I'm saying there is, you can't increase me to 121 at this point. If at some point in the next month and a half, we have enough money and we're doing a general wage increase for everybody, that's one thing. I'll be right there in line. But right now, under the current circumstances, I have to be the first one to say no. You can't give me a $10,000 increase if we're not going to basically do a wage freeze for everybody else.
I hear you're coming from, Charlie, and I think maybe this is my misunderstanding, because when I see that something's a contractual obligation, my assumption is that the contract, I guess I'm thinking the contract's been signed and the money is owed.
Well,
and I don't mean to make this personally about you. I mean, with anything like that, when I see that as the notation in the column, my assumption is that we're contractually bound to that new number.
Right, and I agree. Then that's why you probably need to, you'll need to figure out what the step increases are and how much they cost, because the step increases, whether the union contracts are under wage and personnel, are the law per se, whether the contractual law or not. But I'm starting right now and saying, yeah, I got a contract, but the police chief doesn't have a contract for next year. The fire chief doesn't have a contract next year. I'm not going to say, I was lucky I signed a contract before all this happened. I mean, politically, it's indefensible for me to be advocating that I get a $10,000 increase for next year, even if it's contract. I'm happy to sign a new contract with a selectman to say I don't. I'll, somehow make it up at some point maybe. But right now, both financially, in the terms of the actual dollars, but politically, if you're going back to the school system, we're going back to the unions, we're going back to wage and personnel folks, and I'm right there beating the band, right, line number 3. I mean, how many Rotten Tomatoes do you have to throw at me?
So in terms of then, do we, and I don't mean to throw more stuff on Sandy's plate or anybody's plate, but do we have a breakout number and for just step increases for FY 2021?
I don't have that number off the top of my head.
That's okay.
What I did do, I sent you guys all an alternative budget where I brought all the expense accounts down to FY20 levels. And then I did some quick figures bringing down any of the increases that were asked for in the wage accounts. So just by going down on all the expense accounts, bringing those to a FY20 level, I was able to bring it down $361,246. And then bringing all the wage accounts down to the FY20 level, I was then able to bring down another 77,198. And then the schools, the reduction in the schools to the 20 level, an additional 138,000. That's because I had already taken some off of the schools, as you saw, on the original time, group. So I was able to reduce it to about 576,471. I do have the increase in the retirement in there. I do have a couple of other lines, like the election and registration, where I didn't really think that we could lower it. I did lower the law account, which goes against everything in my body, to do that. But I was able to gain some ground in that way. But that would get us a little above what we need. So.
Okay. Thank you for all that work on that, Sandy.
If you want to go through it line by line, I can tell you what I did. I mean.
Yeah, I just opened the alternative budget, and for FinCom folks, that was in an email dated April 9th. So I guess what we can, if everyone's able to keep the two of them kind of open, we could go through. All right, so for example, lines 1 and 2 are level funds, so we can leave those. That's moderator salary, selectman salary. We've already made recommendations on those. So in the alternative budget.
So in the alternative budget, I hadn't touched any of the wage accounts, but if we bring Charlie down, we could bring that back down to the 111.
Okay. All right, so let's just start. Let's begin there, I guess. I'm sorry, I don't mean to kind of muddle this. It's a little bit harder when we're working off one screen as opposed to having spreadsheets. All right, so I'll entertain a motion on line 3, town admin salary, to recommend the FY 2020 amount of $111,000.
You said 111,000?
Yep. That's the FY 2020 amount.
Okay, I'll make a motion to recommend.
Do you have a second? This is, we're gonna go through and have this as a starting point for conversation, and then, as Charlie mentioned, be able to add back the things in that we want. But I think it's, as Charlie said, it's important for us to make these recommendations, try to get down as low as we can underneath our revenue expenditure, and then add things back in to give the voters and or the Board of Selectmen the information they need about how to have a level, a balanced FY 2021 budget. So we have a motion to recommend line 3, town admin salary at the FY 2020 amount of $111,000. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I can second it.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So line 4, selectmen clerical, this is a projected reduction. So the FY 2021 requested amount is actually under the FY 20. So by our previous rules, I would entertain a motion to recommend line 4, selectmen clerical at $83,586.
That's the FY 21 number.
Yep, which is lower than FY 20.
Right, so I'll make a motion to recommend selectman clerical for 83,586.
I'll second that motion.
Moved in second. Any further questions?
Melinda, does that, through you to Sandy, does that include any step increase for anybody?
I don't believe so. I think that staff is at their top step, but
Because I
I'd
know
have to double check.
it may be a, I think the 0.4 is because we lost one work day for fiscal 21. We had 262 and or one in fiscal 20.
Right.
Yeah, okay, so that's why the drop is there.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion for lines 4, selectmen expense, 5, law, 6, 5 selectmen expense, 6, law, 7, town hall electricity, 8, town reports, 9, audit, to recommend, for the finance committee to recommend at the FY 2020 level.
So,
Melinda,
Uh-huh.
the town hall electricity, I thought that it would be possible to drop that a little.
Oh, you dropped it by
We
7.
have,
Yep.
yeah,
All right, so let me go through let me not be lazy. So I'll entertain a motion to recommend line 5, selectmen expense at the FY 2020 amount of $3,925. To recommend the line 6, the law account at the FY 2020 amount of $74,100. To recommend the line 7, town hall electricity at the 21 requested amount of $17,000. To recommend line 8, town reports at the FY 2021 requested amount of $9,000. And to recommend line 9, audit at the FY 20 amount of $25,500.
Linda, can I speak to any of that?
Yeah.
On the law account, obviously, I have grave reservations, but
Yeah.
again, it's a situation that first let's fit the 20 budget in, and then we look at if we have any spare change and then make some decisions. And that's one of the places where I would talk with you all about putting some money back in there.
Yeah, and I know we had previously voted to recommend the increased amount given the reserve fund transfers we've had.
In the town reports, the reports really are two things. The reports themselves, which cost about $2,400 right now. We talked about this previous months. It's not a lot of money, but I think again, given the circumstances, given the priorities, that we have to forego printing 100 copies of the town report at $24 each.
Yeah.
what we would do is simply print 2 or 3 on a copier. We bind them. They were binding, not fancy binding machines, but we can bind them for archival purposes in the town clerk's office and up at the State House. If people want them, they're going to be online. People can print a copy. That'll be fine. But I think we have to eliminate that as an expense. The other expense in there is the town meeting warrant. And I'm horrified with myself in a sense that I think everybody should get a copy of the warrant, all 3,000 households. The problem is that we're printing 3,000 copies for about 100 households that show up for town meeting. But, there are maybe 150 people, we'll say 2 people from some of the households, 1 person from another, but let's say it's roughly 100 households. Again, we go back to both for postage, which is over $1,000, and then the printing of a warrant. That's just for the annual. If we have any specials, the same thing occurs. That we can, again, it becomes a matter of priorities, and it becomes a matter of, this is a place we could cut. And if we get to the point at the end of the budget that there's money left over, then we can look at that as a priority versus other things as a priority. But it's going to require changing the bylaw at the town meeting to do this for next year, for fiscal 21, not the year we're in. But I'd be recommending to you all and to the selectmen that we cease distribution of the town meeting warrant, mailing it out. That we'll have copies for town meeting. We'll have copies at the library for pickup. We'll have copies at town hall for pickup. But it will just all be done internally. And heck, if someone says, well, I didn't get a copy, I want one, and I don't even want to go to the library, I'll personally hand deliver a copy to their house. Given the number of households that don't show up, I think it's going to be fairly easy to meet. And it would save, as you can see there, I think we had 10,400, was it? For fiscal 20, we brought it down a little bit. For fiscal 21, I mean, $9,000 isn't, in the terms of the numbers we're looking at to try and make ends meet, 9,000 is no longer chump change. It will have a material effect. But that's up to the selectmen and the finance committee to make a decision whether that's a priority still for the town.
I mean, how do finance committee members feel about that idea of printing off some copies of the warrant, leaving them at public buildings like the library, town hall, COA, et cetera, and then having a PDF available online and print copies available at town meeting for people as reference materials?
I think that's a good idea.
Anyone else from FinCom or from the public?
I have no problem with that.
Oh, it sounds like a transparency. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Maybe $500 in case there's some expense. That's the only thing I would ask them, maybe.
Okay. Do you want the finance committee to take a vote that we recommend not printing ordering copies of the town report and not mailing printed copies of the warrant to all households?
And so to accompany the committee's decision to lower the amount in the budget, yeah.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So then I'll entertain a motion to recommend line 8 town reports in the updated amount of $500 for fiscal year 21.
Melinda, should we go through and rescind our recommendations for all the lines, maybe as in totality?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So everything we've recommended so far was essentially a level fund. Do we want to just leave? I think the easiest thing might be just to leave the recommendations on the level funded items and go line by line on only the ones that don't have them or where we recommended an increase.
And Sandy may have some points where she's made, had some ideas about the line items that could be lowered.
Okay.
So don't ignore that. But then also just if you can go back up, because I don't think you took official votes on the law and the town hall electricity items, for example.
Okay. All right.
Charlie, are we talking about lowering that town report line, the whole line, to $500?
Yes.
I had it at 6,700. You don't think you'll need more than 500?
We're going to, I don't even know that we're going to need the 500. My intention is to, the town report, we're just going to print off a copier and bind it. The town meeting warrants are going to, we'll print off the copiers and have them available at the distribution points in a town meeting. We're not going to go to a printer and do this.
All right.
Okay.
I mean, it will be up to, ultimately it'd be up to town meeting. I mean, if the
Yeah.
town meeting said, no, we want copies for everybody, then they'll vote the necessary amount in the budget and they'll have to cut someplace else.
Okay, so I'll entertain a vote on line 5 selectmen expense at the FY20 amount of $3,925.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion on line 6, law, fund at the amount of FY20 $74,100. But I know, given our vote, there's going to be, there might be feelings that we don't want to do this, but I think as Charlie mentioned, if we, to be equal across the board, we bring everything back down to FY20 and then see where we can add back in.
I'll make a motion to recommend 74,100 for the line 6, the law account.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? If we have a second, we can open up discussion.
Cheryl seconded it in the chat.
Oh, thank you. All right, so we have a motion and second. So I know we had voted to recommend the FY 2021 request amount of $124,500. I understand. I personally know, or from my perspective, I think it needs to be funded at that level, given all the reserve fund transfers we made. I think procedurally, we're voting to start everything at FY 2020 and add stuff back in, and in that way, we're not treating the law line different from any other line. But I want to hear from other members of the finance committee and members of the public as to any comments about funding the funding that law line.
Well, you know it's going to be higher than that. So
Right.
I'm not even sure why. What's the point? You're just going to be taking, if you don't put it back, you're going to be taking it out of the reserve fund. You're going to be taking a huge chunk out of the reserve fund, which I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, no, I know. I think in terms of the process, though, if we bring it down to FY20 and then see how much we can add back in, assuming we've got money at the end of the day to add back in.
At the end of the day, you have to pay the lawyer, so it really doesn't matter what you add back. You're going to have to add it back.
I know.
It's not like you can't pay the lawyer.
I know. Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor of recommending the law line at the FY20 amount of $74,100 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Opposed?
Any abstentions? Okay, so for right now, like I said, we're taking votes to recommend at FY20 levels, and then we can add back in. But I concur and understand with the not willingness to do that given the bills. Line 7, town hall electricity. I'll entertain a motion to vote for the FY21 requested amount of $17,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
You know, this is a place where Sandy was recommending looking at the bills as they came in, but
Mhm.
we probably can get it down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
she came back with 15.5.
Yeah, if the
Oh,
town
and-
hall,
I've been looking at this year's bills, 9 months worth of bills. So we're 3/4 of the way through.
Mhm.
I think that it would be safe to go 15.5.
Okay. So we'll go 15.5. So I'll entertain a motion for the finance committee to recommend the line 7 town hall electricity in the amount of 15,500.
So moved.
seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, or any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. I'm trying to find under general government the lines that we already recommended at level funding levels that we don't have to do anything with. All right. All right.
Up with the assessor's expense.
Can we, Charlie, is it procedurally allowed for us to just make a motion that for any lines that we've already recommended at a level fund amount over FY20, that we can just leave those at this point, right? We don't
Sure.
have to revote those lines.
Yeah, as long as we know which lines those are.
Okay.
I mean, I think it would help Sandy, sorry. Just in terms of keeping track of everything, you could even just say which lines, boom, 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 boom. These lines are unchanged, yet please vote yes, done.
Okay. All right. I'm going back and forth between these spreadsheets. Okay. So lines. Still under the heading of general government. Okay, line 9, audit. Line 11, FinCom expense. Line 14, accountant expense.
No, that one went up.
That went up.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking
So
at
that
data. I was looking at data processing. Yep. So sorry, not line 14, not line 13. Line 9, audit. Line 11, FinCom expense. Line 15, data processing. Line 16, assessor salary. Line 20, office machines.
That one, I think Sandy was recommending $1,000 increase.
Yeah, that one can actually come down 1,000.
Okay, so we'll go with 6,000. All right. All right. Let's just do this.
Melinda, instead of going back and forth, the
Yeah.
alternative budget spreadsheet,
Mhm.
here's a copy of that expense page from
Okay.
the FinCom budget, and it has all the Rs in it. It has that same column.
Yeah, is it missing a column from the version you gave us today? I don't know why it feels like it's missing a column from the most updated. Maybe it's not.
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Line 9, audit. Line 11, FinCom expense. Line 16, assessor's salary. Line 25, treasurer, banking, and payroll expense. Line 26, tax title treasurer. Line 32, wage and personnel expense were all previously voted by FinCom to recommend at level funded. I'll entertain a vote or a motion at this point to keep those recommendations, to recommend as before.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Yep, we got a second.
Okay, thank you. Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Line 10, FinCom clerical. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 level of $4,512.
So moved.
Sandy, the reason the $8 increase is simply a step situation?
What is?
I believe so. I'm not sure exactly where the difference came from.
So should we hold on all of the, do you want us to hold on all the wage lines for now, Sandy? And then we can see what is, what's step and what's longevity, et cetera?
That could help. Yeah,
Okay.
if we went through and did all the expense lines tonight,
Yeah.
I could answer for mine. You could vote the accountant's salary,
Mhm.
and you could vote the accountant clerical,
Okay.
just because I brought that down a little bit to 45,775.
Mm-hmm.
As you know, I'll be hiring a new assistant accountant, and that might even come down further depending on who gets hired.
Yeah.
So you could vote those two lines if you'd like to.
Okay. And then we'll just, so we're gonna hold on line 10 until we know if that's a step or what.
Okay.
We voted line 11. I'll entertain a motion on lines 12 and 13, accountant salary and accountant clerical. Line 12, we're recommending at 78,836, the FY20 level. And line 13, accountant clerical, we're recommending at the FY21 proposed amount of 45,775.
I'll make that recommendation.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
You got a second on the chat.
Thanks. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, line 14, accountant expense. I'll entertain a motion. We actually already recommended, we've recommended a higher amount. So I'll entertain a motion on line 14 to recommend at the FY20 amount of 1,625.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Line 15, data processing. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the requested FY21 amount, which is lower at 106,335.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, all those, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, line 17, principal assessor, appraiser, we're gonna hold, that's a wage line. Number 18, clerical, assessor clerical. We have a recommendation from Sandy on that one. Sandy, is that, should we wait on that one as well for step and budget?
If you want, with the wage lines, some of it is steps, like they have a new person in one of their positions, so that's why their salary went down. I had gone through and just took out any, like holiday coverage hours, things like that. That's why that went down a little bit more on my recommendation. But if you want to hold it and look at the specifics, that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, okay. That way I just want to make sure we're treating all the wage lines fairly.
Right.
If folks aren't here to speak to them like you were. All right. Line 19, assessors expense. I'll entertain a motion for us to recommend at the FY20 level of 13,165.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Line 20, office machines expense. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the revised amount of $6,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Line 21, treasurer collector salaries, a level fund request of 71,899. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 22, hold for clerical. Line 23, treasurer expense. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 level of 7,500.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 24, collector expense. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 level of 14,850.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And if any members of the public or any folks from these departments are here as we're calling these out, and when we open discussion, please feel free to tag in. I'll try to keep my eye on the chat too, but it's kind of hard when I'm looking at the spreadsheet. But other folks just make sure to let us know if you've got questions or comments. Line 25, treasurer, banking and expense. We've already voted to recommend the level funded amount for that one. So that vote can hold. Okay, line 26, tax title treasurer, that line can hold. That's already been recommended at the FY20 level. Line 27, town clerk salary, again, it's already been recommended. Oh, we haven't made a recommendation yet. So I'll entertain a recommendation to fund it at the FY20 level of $56,179.
Moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hold on line 28, town clerk clerical.
That was a reduction.
It's a further reduction over, okay. But we're not sure if that includes, I know Sandy took out things like holiday hours and stuff like that, but we weren't sure if that takes out steps and such.
Okay.
Line 29, town clerk expense, we've already recommended it a lower amount than FY20. Line 30, elections and register. I'll entertain a motion to recommend it at the FY20 amount of 15,106.
So moved.
Seconded.
I don't think you're going to be able to make that work.
Right, because we've got the third election going on, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
But again, same with law. You said you wanted to go down, and then we'll talk about it later. So,
Yep, agreed.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Line 31, wage and personnel clerical hold. Because we're not sure about, we're just treat all wage lines the same. Line 32, wage and personnel expense, we've already recommended the FY20 level. Line 33, recruitment and employment costs, I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 level of $7,500.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Line 34, Conservation Commission expense. Line 35, Planning Board expense. And line 36, ZBA expense. We all already voted to recommend. Oh, sorry. Line 34, Conservation Commission. We have a proposed amount of $800.
Make a motion to recommend $800.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, lines 35 and 36, we already voted to recommend at the FY20 level, so we can skip. Line 37, hold clerical. Line 38, hold clerical. Line 39, building committee expense, we already voted at the FY20 level. Line 40, town buildings, custodial, hold. Line 41, town buildings expense. We had originally voted at a slight increase. Sandy, so we can vote to recommend at the FY20 level of $35,360.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Line 42, town building preventative maintenance is a level fund request over FY20. We've already voted it. Line 43, town building snow and ice removal. I'll entertain a motion for a recommended amount of $2,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right. The next subheading is public safety. So first we'll tackle public safety police. Line 44, 45 are wage lines. So I recommend that we hold on 44 and 45. Line 46, police training. We already recommended a level fund request over FY20. Line 47, hold. It's a clerical line. Line 48, police expense. We had originally recommended an increased amount of $70,663. The FY20 amount is $62,485. So just I'll entertain a motion to recommend that FY20 amount of $62,485.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further questions or discussion? And just as a reminder to everyone as we're going through that, we're just going to start with FY20 as a base and then see what we can add back in. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And line 49, police station maintenance, we had approved 24,100. Sandy, can you speak a little bit to the 20,000?
The reason why, the reason why I dropped that was because, again, this is an electricity line. This is where they pay their electricity out of. Their electricity is running much lower this year, and with using those figures, the 9 months worth of electricity that we've already paid, and extending it, it looks as if we could lower that to 20,000.
Okay. So I'll entertain a recommendation on 20,000 for line 49 police station maintenance.
I'll make a motion to recommend $20,000 for line 49 police station maintenance.
I'll second that request.
All those in, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And we've already voted on line 50 cruiser maintenance. So I know that we have the we have various department heads here, not just from police, but from other ones. So if when we come to a line that we're voting on, or even after we get to the end of that subsection, if there's any particular things you'd like us to keep in mind about any of those lines, like we said, we're just using the FY20 as our working document and then see what we can add back in. And we'll, of course, still solicit recommendations and commentary from all of you from departments and various committees and such. But do feel free to jump in and let us know as we're taking votes if there's particular things you want us to pay attention to as we're considering what we can put back in for FY21. Next subheading is public safety fire. I recommend we hold on 51, 52, and 53. Those are all wage lines and salary lines. Line 54, fire training. I'll entertain a motion to recommend that the FY20 amount of $58,596.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 55, fire expense. The FY20 amount was $46,750.
Make a motion to recommend $46,750.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Line 56, fire station maintenance. The FY20 amount was, so we've got, Sandy, was this a proposed reduction also because of electricity to recommend at 15,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I just ask a question? What was the fiscal year 21 line amount for that?
For fire station maintenance, chief?
Yeah.
17,124.
So the recommendation is to go below what we have this year?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I know we call it an electricity account. Just there are things that we pay for out of that as far as station maintenance other than electricity. I just want to make everyone aware of that.
So Sandy, do you think that $2,000, $2,100 difference between 17,100 and 15,000, is that going to be made up from the electricity savings, or?
Yeah, give me 1 minute. I'm going to run a couple of figures and I'll give you
Okay.
some information. Hold on.
Okay. So let's hold on that line while saying, so we don't have to.
So according to my figures, for 9 months of the year, they've spent only $8,721 on electricity. So if I extend that out through 12 months, that runs to $11,630. And then I left some money in there to cover some of their other expenses, because I know sometimes they have some outside service or equipment that needs to be with their exhaust system and everything. So that's where that's how I got to the 15,000 number. Any questions?
No.
Okay.
So everyone from their departments too, if there's particular lines that you want, as we're going through this, to earmark for us when we come back and figure out where we can put money back in for the FY21 requests, either on like a list or a spreadsheet or whatever's easiest for all of you from whatever department you're from. Please make notations of that so that it's easier for us, like I said, when we get back at the end of the day and figure out where we can prioritize things, then we'll already know where we obviously know where cuts have been made, but we'll also have an idea of particular priorities for each department. That would be really helpful for the finance committee, because right now we're just trying to get a working draft going of what we could potentially fit in. So line 56, fire station maintenance, I'll entertain a recommendation for the amount of $15,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Line 57, fire vehicle equipment maintenance, I'll entertain a motion to recommend that at the FY20 level of $28,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
Melinda, just,
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay with that, but I just want to remind everyone that as of now, we don't have a town mechanic, and I don't believe he's expected to come back for next year. So when we do simple things like oil changes, brake jobs, all of that, now we're sending all of our trucks out to outside. We'll have nothing done in-house. So I would expect that everyone who has vehicle maintenance in their budget there'll be an increase in that.
Okay. I'm making a note of that in this spreadsheet as well. Same with it. If anyone else has like comments, I'm trying to put little notes for myself and for others in the extra column on the spreadsheet too. Thank you for that, Chief. Line 58, fire medical supplies. I'll entertain a recommendation at the FY20 amount of $25,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, line 59, ambulance billing. This seems to me to fall under wages, but I don't.
Yeah, Melinda, we have a contractor handling the ambulance billing.
Yeah.
So and they get a percentage of the receipts.
Yeah.
So that the more is collected, the more we have to pay out. I'm not saying don't start off with 27.5, but put that in the asterisk column that says you need to revisit that, because I suspect we're going to have to pay it one way or the other. Even more, it's basically going to be a contractual expense that we have no way of escaping, in that the ambulance collections have gone up, and we have to pay the contractor because of that, because they're collecting more money and they get a percentage. So it was 27.5, but know that the minute we get to the end and we still have any money available, it's one of the places you're going to have to bump up.
All right, so I'll entertain a recommendation at $27,500 for line 71 ambulance billing.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, under public safety, other public safety, we've already taken a vote on line 60, emergency management to level fund. Line 61, building inspector wages, will hold. Line 62, assistant building inspector wages. Sandy, would that have any potential step?
If there's no cost of living increase, that won't go up at all. You could approve that.
All right, so then we can vote on line 62 to recommend at the FY20 level of 2,202.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 63, building inspector expense. We've already voted at the FY20 level. Line 64, sealer of weights and measures salary. It's a level fund request. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 65, we've already voted to approve. at the FY20 level. Line 66 will hold the wage line. And line 67, animal control officer expense, we've already recommended at the FY20 level. Just line 69, dispatch services, that seems to me to be under contractual / wages.
I don't know that it's wages, but it's definitely contractual. I don't know that we have any give on that number. Charlie?
Yeah, most of that goes straight to Duxbury, and we set aside a little bit of money for equipment and such, and software services. You know, yeah, I mean, you know, as you all have mentioned, there are going to be line items that we're going to come right back, and we have to increase. I mean, it's either way, we're going to come back to it. You can start off with 155, and in essence say, if we have a deficit at the end of this exercise, we're going to know that we need to go back and decrease something else in order to get the $8,000.
So given that, should we vote at the 163? Should we vote at the FY21 level? Since it's a bill, it's going to have. I mean, this where you know I'm having a hard time sort of delineating, just to be equitable, what.
Charlie, can I just ask you, we know we have that extra expense of that fiber line going up to the dispatch center. Well, if we reduce that number, will that be enough to still cover that?
Well, I'd have to go back and look, because I know we had, I think it's 150 that goes to Duxbury. And we knew we had software and equipment expenses for the coming year needed to number, because inevitably the last few years a surprise has sprung on us, and suddenly we have an expense that I need to cover. I mean, we ran into that a couple of years ago. So, I mean, I can certainly, you know, between now and the next finance committee meeting, I can go back and look why I came up with that number, and we can make a decision whether we're going to bare bone it, so that if we do have an additional expense, we have to go to the reserve fund.
So do you want to hold it?
I think we should.
Yeah, we can
I'm
hold
fine with holding it. Just hold it at the 155 for right. Well, hold it at the 163 for now, and they'll come back on next meeting.
Okay, well, so we'll hold on line 69, dispatch services. All right, the next sub category is schools, beginning with line 71, elementary school costs. So Sandy drafted a recommended number of $5,759,574. And you said it's 2% of last year's salaries, 2/3 of the ink. So does that reduction take into, would that, I guess, what's kind of folded into that that number, Sandy, if you don't mind?
No, not at all. So what I did is I went through the Halifax Elementary School budget and looked at all the salary lines. And on salary lines, I took a 2% decrease of last year's salary number. So I just took 2% of each of the salary numbers from last year and added those up. And then on the bus contract, because I know that the contract came in favorably, so I knew that we could cut some of that. And I believe Christine has confirmed that since then. But this was my original estimate, was $29,341, and I believe that she actually said we saved about $30,000. So $82,095.46 is 2% of what we paid in salaries last year, and $29,341 was 2/3 of the increase that was put in on the buses. That was my own figures, what I had come up with before we had any information from Christine.
Mhm.
I believe that she has gotten back to us, and I'd have to find that email. I don't know, Charlie, if you have that number.
No, I don't have anything with, I'm here at home and I don't even know where to start looking at this point.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to recommend $5,759,574 for line 71 elementary school costs.
So moved.
Seconded.
All right, any discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can you just repeat that number, please?
Sure.
579, 574,
Yep.
5759, 574.
Yep, you're right. 5,759,574, and it's in column S of the alternative budget spreadsheet.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, line 72, vocational education. We have a requested amount, which is a reduction at $206,500. So I'll entertain a motion to recommend the FY21 request.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, line 73, special needs tuitions. Because this is state mandated, Charlie, should we just start with the FY21 number?
Yes,
Okay. So I entertain a motion to recommend the FY21 request of $1,857,409.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, line 74, special needs transportation. The FY21 request is actually lower at $473,800. I'll entertain a motion to recommend.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Line 75, Silver Lake assessment. So the projected increase was of $37,598. The FY20 requested amount was $4,594,943.
Melinda, I'd recommend putting a hold on that for right
Okay.
now. The reason is that and Sandy may have a better idea than I do, but the basis for the 4.632 number in terms of, are we looking at steps and lanes? Are we looking at increases in other areas
Yeah.
and such? If we're asking everybody to keep their expense budgets the same, and maybe we're looking at steps for municipal employees, I want equity between the school and non-school budgets. I don't want to treat them worse than we're treating the non-school budgets, but the reverse is true also.
Yeah. Okay. Then we can hold line 75.
Yeah, because of the nature of the Silver Lake assessment, I couldn't pull out the salary lines. I couldn't make any kind of an adjustment that way, so.
Okay. And same thing as we've been mentioning to all the departments, like please, as we're going through, make notations about things that when we return to the budget and keep working with it for FY21, that you can give us feedback on particular lines and things like that. It'd be really helpful. All right, line 76, debt exclusion budget, Silver Lake. The FY21 request is lower than 20, and it's in the amount of $463,867.
We'll make a motion to recommend.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next section is Public Works Highway. I'll recommend we hold 77, 78, and 79, which are all wage lines. Lines 80.
Melinda, you
Yeah.
could vote 77.
Oh, okay.
That's similar to treasurer collector line and the clerk line as you voted them before.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a recommendation for line 77 highway surveyor salary, a level fund request over FY20 of 75,215.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Hold on line 78 and 79. Line 80, highway expense. Line 81, highway barn maintenance. Line 82, highway equipment. Line 83, highway town roads were already recommended at a level fund over FY20, so we can move on. Highway stormwater management. The FY20 amount was $114,300.
Which line was that again, please?
I think it's 83A. It's technically not numbered, but it's between lines 83 and 84.
Was that for like the whole year or was that for a partial year?
That was a full year.
Okay.
So
I mean,
I'll make a motion to recommend the 114.3.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, line 84, we already voted. Line 85, streetlights, I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 amount of 27,300.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, line 86, we already voted. Line 87, we already voted. Line 88, already done. And line 89, we're already done. And they're all level fund requests. All right, line 90, cemetery superintendent salary, it's a level fund request of 11,269.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 91, hold wage line. Line 92, cemetery supplies and equipment, we already recommended the FY20 level. Lines 93, 94, and 95 will hold as wage lines. Lines 96, line 96 we already recommended at a level fund. Line 97, water insurance. Sandy, you have a recommended amount of 50,000, but the FY20 amount was about 60,500.
Right, if you look at prior years, we haven't had 1 year that was over, I think the highest was 43,000. I did want to run that by Charlie though, because I don't know whether we were expecting any kind of increase in that insurance.
Okay, do you want us to hold on that line?
which line are we, oh, okay. It'll be
The water
minor.
insurance,
I mean, water insurance, it will be minor. Maybe 2%, something like that. Or actually 3%, it's 2.9, call it 3.
Well, they should do it.
So do you want us to vote to recommend you want us to hold in the FY20 amount, or do you think that?
You can, it's gonna be a wash anyway, in terms of raise and appropriate, since it's coming from
Yeah.
water. But for
Yeah.
now, you can leave it at FY20 and whatever adjustment we need to make, we can make, and it will be a wash.
Okay. All right, so lines 97, 98, 99, 100 were all already voted to recommend at the FY20 level. Line 101, water, gas, and oil. Sandy, you have 11,000 as the recommended amount.
again, just going from history, what they've spent, I thought 11,000 was doable.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for line 101 at the amount of 11,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Line 102 and 103 were recommended at the FY20 level.
So Melinda, before we move up to the next category,
Yeah.
why are we not revoting 97 water insurance? If we haven't had a year higher than 45,000, why wouldn't we vote the 50?
Wasn't I thought Charlie wanted to take another look at the
Yeah, I mean, put it at 50, and again, it
Okay.
will be a wash one way or the other, so put it at 50.
Okay. I entertain a motion to recommend line 97 water insurance at the amount of $50,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 104 recycling office clerical hold. It's a wage line. Line 105 recycling office expense. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 level of $3,785.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Line 106 hold. It's a wage line, right? Recycling center wages. Line 107 recycling center expense. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 level of $45,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 108 hazardous waste collection. I'll entertain a motion to recommend at the FY20 level of $14,550.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I talked with Sue about this, and she
Hmm.
said that if we pushed out the hazardous waste day, we can cut that expense in half.
Oh,
If we push it out to 1 year,
okay. So we can leave it then at the FY20 amount, and then if we have to go back to it, we might be able to save a little more there.
Yep.
Okay. I'll make a note. Okay. Just in the sake of equity, we'll leave it at FY20 amount. Line 109 trash collection disposal. The FY20 amount is lower. We've already recommended it. All right, next, health and human services.
Actually, sorry, Melinda, I don't think we voted on the motion in the second for hazardous
Oh,
waste.
my apologies. We have motion and a second on line 108 hazardous waste collection. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and 109 we already voted. 110 is a wage line, so we'll hold. Line 111 we already voted level fund. That was health expense. Line 112 is a wage line, so we'll hold. Line 113 health nursing service. We already voted level fund. Line 114 landfill engineering and monitoring. Sandy, you have a recommended amount of $15,217.
We received a new contract and it went down slightly, very slightly, but slightly.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to recommend for line 114 landfill engineering and monitoring the amount of $15,217.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, line 115 is a wage line, we'll hold. Line 116 is a wage line and we'll hold.
Line 115, you can vote.
Oh, okay. I'll entertain a motion to level fund line 115 inspector of animals is a level fund request at $3,172.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 116 is a wage line. Line 117, we already recommended the level fund. Line 118, Pope's Tavern electricity. I'll entertain a recommendation for the FY20 request of $3,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Line 119, it's veteran agent salary, but is this, this isn't,
You could hold it at the FY20 amount.
okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve line 119 veterans agent salary, which is a level fund request of $15,273.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to fund line 120 veterans agent expense at the FY20 balance of $1,350.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Sorry, I missed that amount.
13,000. Oh, sorry, 1,350.
Oh, all right. Sorry.
It's okay. Line 122 veterans benefits. That's the sort of agreement with the state. So again, does this make sense to vote at the FY20 level and then add back in, or because we're obligated to it, should we just vote the FY21?
I'd like to see you vote the FY21. I feel that with everything that's going on and all the layoffs and everything, we may have more veterans looking for benefits.
Okay.
So I'd hate to cut that one.
All right. Well, line 122 veterans benefits, 123 housing authority, and 124 ADA expense we already voted to recommend. Now we're under culture and recreation. Line 125, 126 will hold. Those are wage lines. Line 127, library expense. I'll entertain a motion to recommend the FY20 amount of $89,349.
Hey, Melinda, can I pop in on that?
Sure, Jean, we'll get a motion in a second, and then we can officially open up discussion on it.
Oh, seconded.
Okay.
We have a motion in a second. All right, go ahead, Jean.
Okay, so I know that you're recommending on the FY20, which is fine. I don't want to be the only department that you're not doing that. But is this a good time for me to kind of say some things about that? And then so that or should I wait until you guys go back and look at that and see where we can add?
I would say let's, now would be a good time for you to take notes on your end as stuff pops in, just like we've told, like the chiefs and Scott and everybody else to be making notes, and the school people, I don't mean to leave anybody out. Everyone be making notes on these lines as we come to them. And then when we get to go back in and see what we can add, I think then it would be the most helpful to have like priority rankings from each of you on what we can add back in on what line. Because I think this exercise right now is to try to see how close we can get our expenses to what we projected our revenues will be in FY21.
Okay, so the only thing that I do want to mention, because I think this might be helpful, and Sandy can give you a better estimate, but I did like a quick just estimate of the money that I'm going to actually turn back this year. And what the MBLC did, they haven't changed the requirements for the MAR for FY21, but what they did was they said that the amount that you spend on your materials this year whatever you spent up to March 10th at the governor's order can give you full reimbursement. So I went through all of my expenses, and I've been closed and things like that. And I think I'm going to turn over probably over $24,000 to the town in money that I'm not spending. About $5,000 in expenses, probably $12,000 in my materials line item, and $7,000 in wages. So the difference to keep the library certified is like $3,380.
Okay.
So I get that you're voting on my expense for FY20, but I wanted to bring that forward and get a chance to, when we go back and have to plug in that $3,380, the difference in my expenses. I wanted to make it clear that that's how much money I'm probably going to be turning back this year.
Okay, so I'll make a note that that 3,380 is the difference needed to reach the certification level for the state.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Jean.
Melinda.
Okay, awesome.
Melinda, back on line 120, I don't think you took a vote on it. You asked Sandy, on line 122.
Okay.
You asked Sandy what she thought about it, and she said at the higher FY21 level, but then there was no discussion thereafter if you were making the motion and voting it.
So I have in my notes that we already voted to recommend at the FY20 level of 205,225.
So you were just leaving that one alone? At the vote you already did. Okay.
Yeah. Because
Okay,
we figured that we were going to have, that's like the repayment to the state that we'd be mandated for anyway.
Nope, that's fine. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm that that's what you were doing.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Line 128 youth and rec wages will hold. It is the wage line. Line 129 youth and rec expense. We already recommended the level fund. Line 130 youth and rec director will hold as a wage line. Lines 131, 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139, 140, 141, and 142 were all level funded requests with the exception of line 133, which was a decrease. So we'll let those votes remain.
Did you include 142 in that?
142.
I shouldn't have. Yeah. So we're gonna keep the votes on lines 131 through 141. Line 142 music rights. I'll entertain a recommendation for the FY20 amount of $357.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Melinda, I know it's $9, but I'm stuck paying it. Either we pay the music rights or we don't. If we don't, then people who are running town activities cannot use recorded music and such.
Okay.
It's black and white. There's no adjustment in it or anything like that.
Okay.
I'll rescind my motion.
Okay.
Why? It's the same thing as the law bills. We come back and visit at a later point. You got to pay the law bills too. So
Yeah.
it's just a bill.
Yeah.
You start at 357 and we come back. That's the deal we made with everything. So
Yeah. All right. So Bill rescinded his motion. Do we have a motion to recommend at the FY20 amount of 357 for line 142?
I'll make the motion.
Moved. Do we have a second?
Sure. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
We'll just note it and we'll come back to it later, like we're doing.
Yeah. No, I know. And that's the hard thing. Like
You got to be consistent. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You got to be consistent. So.
No, I know, and it's hard because it seems like there's shades of gray in between everything, and it's hard to say what's a contract. You know, like everything's a contract, right? So, but I agree. Let's just be as conservative and egalitarian as we can be, and then we'll go back in. So we have nothing on line 144. We have nothing on line 145, and we have nothing on line 146. Line 147 and 148, we already voted to recommend the FY20 amount. Line 149, debt landfill capping, is actually a reduced amount, which we already recommended. We already voted to recommend. And we already voted to recommend 196A, HES roof and repairs, which is also a reduction over the FY20 amount. Line 149B, debt, HES fire suppression system. I believe Charlie and or Sandy were saying something about potential payments on that for FY21. Something about we may get to like skip a payment or something like that.
No, what we're doing is that we're doing a new bond anticipation note. In essence, we've already done it. We're sort of overlapping right now because the market was favorable to us doing that. So our current ban ends next month in May. Our new ban will end in, Sandy, if I'm wrong, tell me, I think it's ending in 9 months, 8 months, December, but we can pay it off.
In 9 months, which is in January.
So,
We have the ability, though, to pay it off up to 120 days before.
the idea
right?
is to, the idea is that in addition to the interest payment, we will pay a principal payment, even though there's no principal. In essence, we're going to try and reduce the principal, starting with this ban that we're going into right now. If the market is favorable, we'll turn the ban into a bond this winter. If it isn't, we'll issue another ban, but with the idea that we will continue to pay down the principal of each ban that we issue. So most of that money that you see there, the 179 is actual principal payment.
Okay. So I guess we'll leave that recommendation that we already voted to recommend the amount of $179,250. And line 150 interest on temporary loans is a reduction, and we've already voted that one. We have nothing for 196C, which is the Council on Aging line that we had. Line 151, Plymouth County Retirement. This is again, we're in the fuzzy thing of like, this is something that we absolutely have to pay. Similar to like the veterans line, I'm assuming. And we already voted to recommend that amount of $1,277,154. Line 152, group insurance town share was a level fund request we already recommended. Line 153, Medicare town share. That request is for $131,100. Again, Charlie, do we treat this?
It's going to be one of those items that you're going to have to come back to. I mean, Linda and Sandy have been working on that to try and refine that number. And right now, there's no escaping that because our salary base is larger and we've had a lot of details that we're going to be obligated by the federal government to come up with that money.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can either say, use a fiscal 20 and we'll get back to it, but note that it's right up at the top of the list. That there's no escaping it.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion then to recommend the FY20 amount of $128,520.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Line 154, insurance.
I would put a hold on that.
Okay. Line 155, OPEB trust. And this is the Finance Committee policy. We had voted to increase $5,000 each year. So we recommended $41,000. FY20 was $36,000. One thing to consider, and Sandy made a notation on the side of $37,000, is that in previous years when we didn't have enough, we still increased that line per our policy. We just didn't do the $5,000 increase, and that way we could still show a good faith effort to increasing our OPEB line. So given that, I'd entertain a recommendation for line 155 OPEB trust in the amount of $37,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, line 156, telephone is a level fund request over FY20. I'll entertain a motion on line 156 for the amount of $29,200.
156. I'll make a motion for line 156, the amount of $29,200.
Okay, moved. Do we have a second? Seconded. Any discussion on line 156? All those in favor?
Aye.
Line 157, gas and oil, all departments. Sandy has a recommended amount of $90,000. So I'll entertain a motion for the amount of $90,000 on line 157.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, heating, oil, all buildings. We have a recommended amount of $50,000. So I'll entertain a motion on line 158 for the amount of $50,000.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So Sandy, I don't expect you to be doing calculations on the fly with what we've just done, but
I've been trying to keep a running tally, but I have some superfluous numbers in here. So
yeah,
I think we've brought it down quite a bit.
yeah.
But we still have so many hold lines that it's difficult to say.
Okay.
So on all the
wage lines.
the wage lines, right? So if you give me a minute, I can take a quick look. Hold on.
Okay, I was gonna say too, I think one of the things we should do with the committee's approval, and if you would be so kind, Linda, is to send out a memo to the department heads who weren't able to join us tonight that just sort of explains that we're trying to create a draft to work off of. We voted to recommend FY20 levels of all lines except wage lines, and that in addition to the budget proposals that we already have, if folks have particular needs and requests within those lines, not that anyone made superfluous or frivolous requests earlier, but sort of if we have the money, where in your budget would you like us to focus attention if we can, that we can put out a memo to the department heads and committees and such to tell them that this is where we're at right now fiscally, and to give them the autonomy to kind of tell us that if we have money of where, rather than us making that decision without their consultation, I really want them to be the ones that point us to where they'd like us to add funding back in if and when we can.
Okay.
Committee members, do you think that that is a reasonable?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. And I can help draft that with you, Linda, if you want, or I can write it up, whatever is easiest.
Yeah, I can put something together.
Okay. Also, FinCom members, we'll put in that memo too that folks will be encouraged to contact their liaisons. So if you aren't already in contact with them, they might reach out to you to talk about any of those lines that they might have had that they want us to pay special attention to.
On a quick look, it looks like we've saved $350,928
Okay.
with what we just went through.
So does that put us, are we within then your revenue estimates given that figure, Sandy?
No, not really. We had, because the revenue figure that I cut was $514,874.
Okay. So we still
So we
need more
would,
like 165,000.
right.
Okay.
What I can do is I can run all these figures tomorrow on the expense section of the FinCom budget sheet, and it will calculate where we stand exactly on the synopsis page. And then that will help us, that will give us a better clue as to exactly what we still need to cut.
Okay.
And I can start looking at all those wage lines and giving the finance committee the details on each wage line so that you can see where we've come up with each figure.
Okay. That'd be awesome if
Which
you don't
one?
mind doing that, and then we could sort of set our next our meeting a week from tonight to finish up those lines, and also give that week to the department heads to get us feedback on, and let them know like we're still about $165,000 short. We're going into the wage lines now, but if there is anything you want us to pay special attention to please let us know by the time we have the next meeting, and to encourage people to attend that meeting as well. Okay, Charlie or Sandy, thank you so much for especially Sandy, to you for running all that, and Linda for taking the minutes and everything. Charlie, Sandy, Linda, anybody, do you have anything else under As May Arise, or does anyone else have anything under As May Arise for tonight?
No, just that Sandy and I am sure we'll spend some time this week going over the financial numbers. I mean, we've found it useful to back each other up in the sense of making sure that the numbers do add up for both of us if we do it independently. And if we're not coming up with the same numbers, work out why that's not happening, and be able to come back to you by, maybe even before the end of the week, so that you're not getting dropped on Monday, to show you where you are, what choices you might have,
Okay.
etc. So
That'd be
he's just
great.
been doing more of the work, and I've been not, and I think I need to be able to put more time into this to help her.
Well, thank you, everyone in attendance and everyone who's not. Thanks for all the hard work that you're doing, paid and unpaid. It's very much appreciated, and we'll keep moving forward on this together as a team. And I think we've been working awesome together, and I know we'll keep that up. So I just want to say personally, thank you to everybody for everything you've been doing. If there's no other business we have to handle tonight, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:58 p.m.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 7:58 p.m.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, thank you so much, everyone. Again, please stay safe.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.